In the last 24 hours, Nancy Mace has made 126 posts on Twitter about the bathroom in the Capitol. Why is she doing this? Because despite Donald Trump's $20 million in ad spend, despite Donald Trump's radicalizing anti-trans hatred and using that to win the votes of scared young men who I think a lot of like the red pill young men, they are, prone to disliking trans people based on maybe a fear of them being gay, where they are attracted to a woman and then they find out she has genitalia they disagree with. Now, Sarah McBride got elected. Delaware, the first openly transgender woman, gets elected to the House of Representatives. And so now Nancy Mace is trying to politicize her arrival on the Capitol by creating a preemptive bathroom bill. They want to prevent Sarah McBride from being able to use the ladies' room at the Capitol. That is the mission. It's so stupid. But dude, 126 posts in 24 hours. Dude, that's abnormal. That's 10 posts an hour. That's a post every 6 minutes. Now, here's what's ridiculous about this. It becoming this Trumpism thing. Because this is Donald Trump in 2012, 4 years before he became this Republican power monger. He had a beauty pageant and he was defending a transgender woman being able to participate in a beauty pageant. And in addition to that, Donald Trump actually was the first person to allow transgender women in beauty pageants. He literally started it. Trump's Miss Universe pageant, GLAAD, announced inclusion of transgender women in beauty pageants. So the irony of the fact that Donald Trump, the man who is responsible for opening beauty pageants up to transgender women, is now the leader of the party and the movement that is seeking to demonize transgender women. And so now they're going to just pile on and make their entire identity about anti-trans behaviors. Nancy Mace, 126 posts. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because when you think about it, their obsession is about putting people into the bathroom of the sex that they were born. That's their obsession. If they get their way, 𝗙cie K here, they want her to use the men's room. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what world you live in. But if you're telling me that this woman needs to use the men's room, you're fucking crazy. You need to figure your shit out. You do. That's not going to be good for anybody. That's going to be super dangerous for her. But it gets worse because with their bathroom bill, they want her to go in the men's room and they want him to go in the ladies' room. This is the other side of it. This guy in Nancy Mace's world, in the bathroom anti-trans world, this guy is going to be going to the bathroom with your daughter. That's the reality. It's so stupid. They are so outlandish. This idea of needing to be in people's pants to make this judgment. It's so weird because at the end of the day, women get victimized by abusers. Period. Doesn't matter if they're cis, trans, whatever. Abusers are going to harm women. Abusers like Matt Gaetz, the guy who's up for the attorney general. Matt Gaetz, who is under an ethics investigation for sex trafficking and having sex with underage girls and paying underage girls for sex. And his buddy is in prison right now for it. That's Matt Gaetz. That's Donald Trump is a predator who grabs him by the pussy, who doesn't even ask, who's an adjudicated sexual abuser, 26 credible accusations. Those guys are the fucking predators. Dana White, his buddy who hit his wife on camera. RFK Jr., a serial adulterer, 37 affairs. His wife kills herself after she finds his detailed erotic journal. But they're trying to declare that Sarah McBride using the ladies' room is a dangerous predator. And they want this guy to go in the ladies' room and they want her and 𝗙𝗪𝗓 up here to be in the men's room. It's fucking ridiculous, guys. Again, to reiterate what I said before, despite Donald Trump running $20 million worth of campaign ads, despite maybe Donald Trump won some of those red pill young men because of his fervent anti-trans hate, there's now a transgender woman who is going to the Capitol. So now they're going to have to confront their transphobia every single day now. And she's not going to be the last trans person. Eventually, there's going to be a trans man that gets elected. And then Nancy Mace is going to be going into the bathroom talking to this guy if her bathroom bill passes. That'll be next, is this guy will be in the bathroom with Nancy being like, hey, Nancy, nice work. How you doing? I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad you're making me come into the bathroom with you. See, this is why it's just a lose-lose. This whole thing is so senseless, because if you just let the women and men and the trans women and men go to the bathroom, you're not even going to know. Like, Nancy Mace has most certainly been in the Capitol or in a bathroom somewhere with trans people before, and it's never been a problem. And in fact, at home, she has a bathroom that she shares with men and women and male and female guests. Now, again, though, a lot of this, I think, stems from this religious fear of these right-wingers who are like, you know, they're going to see 𝗙𝗪𝗓 and be like, oh my God, she's so hot. And then the first thing they're going to worry about is they're going to worry what's between her legs, because they need to gauge whether they're straight or gay or not. And I think some of these religious people, that is like a huge deal for them, these red pillars. But I hate to break it to you, because we're all a little bit straight and we're all a little bit gay. That's the facts. It doesn't matter who you are. You may not have acted on it, but every human being is a little bit straight and a little bit gay. Trans women aren't a danger to women. They have not proposed a danger to them at all. If you look at the 5,000 women who are murdered every year, it's like 3,000 to 5,000 women get murdered every single year in America. 34% are by the guys who date them. Men are women's biggest danger and always have been. Straight cisgendered men that date them have been their biggest danger. Men like Donald Trump, men like Matthew Gaetz, men like Pete Hegseth, men like RFK Jr. That's always been it. Serial adulterers, abusers. But now they're like all about the trans women. Just forget about all the abusers. Forget about the Andrew Tates and the Donald Trumps. They love them, the guys that are known traffickers. But a trans woman, you know, like 𝗙𝗪𝗓 here, they want to stick her in the men's room. Why? They want to harm her. They want to make it so she goes away. That's why. Transgender women have been forced into sex work for generations, and the people buying that sex have been cisgendered, powerful, usually white men, preachers, government people, pillars of the community, husbands of women like Nancy Mace. But dude, we're going to fight this. And again, it's really interesting. This is not new. They did this to gay people. They did it in my generation. When I was in my 20s, they did this exact same thing to gay people, but it wasn't about the bathroom. It was about gay teachers, gay scout leaders, gay whatever. Anybody who was openly gay, they wanted them away from kids. They had this narrative. They were a danger to kids. They tried to portray them as monsters and abusers, and they're not. They never have been. So this is not new. This bigotry, this religious-fueled, like anti-insert sexuality here, bigotry is not new. It's the exact same playbook. Now they call it leave the kids alone. When I was younger, it was called Save Our Children. This woman right here, Anita Bryant, the rally for decency is what she called it. Save Our Children. She was the poster child for this. This was her entire identity. This was when I was a kid. They were doing the exact same campaign. It was mostly about gay men. The lesbians were certainly not attacked as viciously as the gay men. The gay men were the primary point of attack for them. But it was this idea that if there was a gay man, they were going to be harmful to your kids. And so they needed to eradicate them from society. This is an anti-gay video from 1961. This is their advertisement. about warning against homosexuals, Anita Bryant shit, save our children. You're going to see it's the same game. Religious people having some weird sexual issue that is about them, but they're going to project it onto everybody.
That looks innocent enough, doesn't it? Lots of young people hitchhike. Seems like a good way to get from one place to another. But sometimes there are dangers involved that never meet the eye. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful if they are too friendly. One never knows when the homosexual is about. Let's take the case of Jimmy Barnes. Jimmy played baseball all afternoon, and he didn't feel like walking home, so he decided to thumb a ride. He'd done it 100 times before, and he didn't think anything was unusual when the driver struck up a friendly conversation. In fact, he seemed like a real nice guy. What Jimmy didn't know was that Ralph was sick, a sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous and...
Ralph was sick. Jesus. And I mean, dude, isn't it the same shit they're saying about transgender people now? They no longer say that gay people are sick or have a mental illness. Now they're applying that same thing to transgender people. Same language.
A sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous and contagious. A sickness of the mind.
Dangerous and contagious.
You see, Ralph was a homosexual, a person who demands an intimate relationship with members of their own sex.
You see that? A person who demands? You see the language they're using? It's all the same language. Wrapping it up as a mental illness, saying it was contagious, i.e. they're transing or gaying your kids. If they're around, your kid's gonna catch it and become one of them. And 3, though, they demand, is what the narrator says. They demand the relationship. Yes, meaning they're coercive, they're sneaky, they're automatically some type of abusive, they're not existing to just exist. It's like they're out there actively being predators.
Who demands an intimate relationship with members of their own sex. So no matter where you meet a stranger, be careful if they are too friendly, if they try to win your confidence too quickly, and if they become overly personal. One never knows when the homosexual is about.
But there you go, dude. That was a public service announcement, 1961. So here we are, guys. We are at the same spot where now Nancy Mace is going to become the queen of this. She's going to go on all the TV shows. She's going to be the head of anti-trans bigotry.
Here she goes. Here's Congresswoman Mace. Congresswoman Mace, can I ask you a question as you walk here? So the question is, with your piece of legislation about banning women from using...
100% yes.
My question to you is...
And it doesn't go far enough. I'll be filing more bills.
You have said that it was created in response to Congresswoman-elect McBride.
100%.
But should legislation be created targeted at one specific person?
It doesn't mention anyone in the legislation, but
you've said it was aimed at her.
No, I have said it's a result of this. I'm not going to allow biological men into women's private spaces. I will stand in the brink and stand in the way of anyone on the radical left who thinks that it's okay for a penis to be in a women's locker room or a bathroom or a changing room.
Dude, she's afraid of the penis. But bro, maybe it's time for us to stop being afraid of the penis. Can we create a world where, why does the penis have to be an explosive device? Can't we just have unisex bathrooms that have private stalls and we can all wash our hands next to each other, not like fucking weirdos?
I'll be ready with a motion, a privileged motion to force a vote on this. This is not okay. I'm a survivor of rape. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, and I'm not going to allow any man in any female private spaces.
Dude, she's a survivor of rape. She's a survivor of sexual abuse who voted for a rapist and sexual abuser to be president, and now saying that somehow harming the trans woman is going to be the thing that protects her. But it's like, Nancy, maybe your real problem is that you voted for a rapist. Maybe that's the real issue here. That, why are you voting for a rapist and sexual abuser named Donald Trump, but you're somehow taking that out on Sarah McBride?
End of story. And by the way, I'm getting death threats from men pretending to be women. Why is it that these crazy people, the insanity, the radical left...
Oh, there it is. The insanity, just like our little YouTube video here that says homosexuality is the mental illness, right? They're in with the insanity.
They're willing to kill women over a man's right to be in a women's restroom.
Speaker Johnson has said he wants to treat every new member with the words dignity and respect. Forcing this congressperson to go into a male restroom, is that dignity and respect?
Forcing women to share private spaces with men is not dignity and not respect. And I'm absolutely going to stand in the way of anyone who...
But again, it's a trans woman. That's just it. Like, she refuses to see a trans woman as a trans woman. She is insisting that this is a man, according to Nancy Mace. Like, dude, we know that this is not a man, right? We're all clear. Everybody who's in chat right now is real clear that this ain't a man. For Nancy to say that this is a man. Now, this isn't Sarah McBride. This is Stephanie K, but like, that ain't a man. Now, let's look at something else here. We know that's not a man. Now, which one of these two is a man and which one is a woman? Let's play a little game for Nancy Mace here. Which one of these is a woman and which one is a man? Because Nancy Mace says she doesn't want to share a bathroom with this woman. She wants to share a bathroom with this guy, is what Nancy Mace is saying. It's dangerous for her to use the bathroom with this woman, but she's perfectly comfortable using the bathroom with this guy. Dude, make it make sense. I'm sorry, transphobes. You're fucking stupid. I mean, if Nancy Mace really cared about women, she would have passed some domestic violence gun laws. She would have passed the equal rights legislation if she cared about women. She would be, guaranteeing their right to abortion care. She would be guaranteeing their right to paid family leave. There's just a host of things that she would be for if she really cared about women. But this isn't about women. This is about an ideological war that the right-wing religious people want to have, where they believe, much like they were in the 70s and when I was a kid, their war was that gay people are a threat to our religion. And the gay people were like, "Fuck you, you're not going to hold us down." They said, "You're dangerous, you're mentally ill, you're weird, you're a predator on our kids, you're harmful, you can't be teachers, blah, 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 it's contagious." And then the gay people got rights and none of that shit happened. And now they're on phase 2, which is now it's about the trans people because they believe that advancements in gender and sexuality are a threat to their religion. And their religion's on tenuous ground because there's like thousands of religions. The major ones are all fighting each other. They're all kind of like proving to us every day that religion's kind of bullshit because it's just people hating and warring and fighting for political power and not being nice to one another and not being able to get along with other religions. They're all fighting to see who's best buddies with the universe creator so they get to exempt themselves from all the laws and scientific discoveries on the planet Earth and somehow be superior and have the right to judgment. So people don't want to be religious anymore. The worst people ever online that I encounter have something about Jesus, God, or a Bible quote in their profiles. They're just horrible. And so they're pissed and they're worried that their religion's going to disappear.
To say this is now an issue that Congress is forced to grapple with here and one that they've never been forced to grapple with before because Sarah McBride is the first trans person elected to the United States House of Representatives.
Dude, I love this for them, though. I love this for them because they campaigned on an ugly anti-trans agenda. The Republican Party did, and now their entire congressional experience, every single day, they're going to have to confront their own bigotry. 20 million on trans ads, and guess what? A trans woman got elected to Congress. So your 20 million, it may have radicalized a bunch of like TPUSA young men who are angry and bitter and afraid that they might be attracted to a hot woman like 𝗙cie K and worried about what's under her dress. So they're all freaked out and going to buy into the transphobia. But at the end of the day, it's not going to go anywhere. Trans women and trans men are going to go to Congress. They are going to end up being the boss. They are going to keep showing up. They're fighting for their rights the same way that the gay people did when I was young. We're right back here. It's like 2024 is no different than fucking 1974. Same shit. And you're not going to win. They did the same shit to gay men. How'd that work out for you? Guess what? The Secretary of Transportation was gay. Nice work. It didn't work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work with the transgender people either. The war will be fought and the war will be won. And so you may have the fuel of Trumpism on your side right now and Nancy Mace, but even if she gets the bathroom bill passed, then a trans man's going to show up in Congress and Nancy Mace is going to walk in the bathroom and see this guy. And then it's like, well, that was a weird miscalculation. Now there's a whole bunch of dudes hanging out there going, hey, what's up, Nancy? How you doing? Looking good, honey. I mean, they're so stupid. This culture war, you may have taken a temporary little bit of a lead because, you know, the pandemic happened and everyone's traumatized, but long term, you're not going to win. They didn't want to end slavery. They didn't want to end segregation. They didn't want to end Jim Crow. They didn't want women to vote. They didn't want gay people to be able to marry. And guess what? You've lost every motherfucking one of them. And you're going to lose this one too. And I was thinking about this last night, guys, and it kind of made me a little teary-eyed to think of how powerful Sarah McBride has to be. She got elected, and now the entire body that she got elected to is warring about her, saying she's mentally ill, saying she's a predator, she's dangerous to women, and all this shit, making a national spectacle. And Nancy Mace is complaining about her death threats, but how many death threats do you think Sarah McBride has had her whole life to being elected? And now the body she gets elected to is like trying to exterminate her. And she shows up. She shows up and walks into that every day, man. It's like, if I can live my life with like 10% of her strength, bro, 10% of her bravery, bro, I would be like proud as because I can't even imagine how strong she has to be to walk into that lion's den. I mean, I was on her social media page and every time she posts, there's like hundreds of people that get in her replies. Every single post, it's just a sea of hatred and negativity. And yet she shows up. She ran a campaign, bro. She stands out there and takes that like a target for all of these people's like religious mental hatred. She is a fucking tribute, man. And I really think with the Democrats, I think this is where we dig in our heels, bro. Because here's the deal. Ultimately, I don't care about politics. I will defend trans people the same way I defended gay people, the same way I defend women, the same way I defend people of color. And I will defend undocumented people and immigrants. And if that means I lose elections, then f off. Because you can win the elections, but we will just wage war on you the entire time you're in the winner's seat. I am never going to stop defending people's right to be whoever they are without some religious asshole coming along telling them what is and isn't allowed to exist. If the Democrats go and lose the election standing up for transgender people, I can live with that. If they win the election by throwing trans people under the bus, I'm not going to be happy with that. Because ultimately, we need to stand up and dig in our heels. And we need to draw some lines against bigoted motherfuckers, period. Win, lose, or draw. We need to stand in there and not allow them to dehumanize people. This is a war that we have to go through. It's a war that we have to take. And to the Democrats and the people on the left, we cannot budge on this. We cannot have a fear of losing an election or whatever, or succumbing to whatever right-wing bullshit, even if we have to lose a bunch of elections and the country needs to plunge into a very dark space like 1860 and we got to redo the Civil War, we have to dig in about civil rights and not cave. We will not cave. We will not be threatened out of like turning our backs on the marginalized people in this country. We will not turn our backs on issues of civil rights. That's it. We have to draw the line there. Imagine if we let Anita Bryant prevent us from gay people having rights. Like, no. Trans people are the next people up. Trans people, black women, women of color, you know, black trans women, like every last one of us deserves representation, the right to health care, the right to education, the right to live a life without some religious bigot getting in our faces telling us that we're not valuable because of their made-up book. We're not going to capitulate to them on human rights, man. I think this is more important than an election. And if it leads to war, it leads to war. I believe human rights are worth fighting for.